Welcome to Meet Me in the Penthouse. I am Amy, along here with my sister Molly. We help high-achieving women increase their income, but most importantly, their impact. We are neighbors, sisters, and business partners. We have built 8-figure businesses together, traveled the world together, raised our children together, mentored thousands of men and women together, and it's all because we have a penthouse mindset. We aim for the top, and we show others how to empower themselves to peel back the layers and truly step into their greatness and calling. Welcome to Meet Me in the Penthouse.
Hello, friends. I'm so excited. This is Molly Croker, and I'm here solo to meet me in the penthouse where we help high-performing women not only create an income, but an impact. So I'm so excited. We've already been cheering and screaming and yelling because we have not spoken to one another like physically on Zoom. We met 11 years ago. So this is my sweet friend, Belinda Norton, and she is an amazing human. She's in Gold Coast, Australia. The first time we were doing the podcast, I got the time totally wrong. I'm messaging her at 2 a.m. her time. I'm like, hi, we're on, we're ready. She's like, ding dong, you did the math wrong. No, she was so kind and compassionate, but now we're on the right time. Now we're good.
Yeah,
And we've
we're
gotten
good to go.
a little bit, but we may be chitty chatting here for a little bit while we're asking questions. But I am so excited for you all to meet Belinda. She is, I have watched you grow, Belinda, because it was 11 years ago we met in Italy.
Correct.
In
Yes.
Rome.
Yes. In a lineup, we're next to each other and we just started talking, and that was it. The whole way through Vatican City, following each other behind. It was so cute.
And you probably don't even like know this part, Belinda, or maybe you do, but I remember looking around going, there's no one here. Like, you had to cover up your shoulders, before you go into Vatican City. Like before we just walked in the building, I'm like, there's really no one here like me. And then you took your like little shawl thing off, that covered your shoulders. And I was like, boom. I'm like, oh, wait. It's me. Like I can tell she loves fitness. I can tell she loves health. And that is really what made me just start chatting with you. And then here we are 11 years later, and I have watched your Instagram grow like crazy. It's just been so fun because I've gotten to see it from my eyes all the way across the sea here in the United States because Belinda is in Gold Coast, Australia. And it's
Correct.
so cool to watch because you have
Oh,
done,
thank you.
I think you were teaching when I met you 11 years ago.
I still am. I still am teaching. So I'm still a health and physical education teacher at the same time.
Okay.
Um,
Growing
yeah.
this massive brand. Tell us about it. Walk us through that. Like you live in the most beautiful place in the world. So anything you do has got to be lovely and wonderful. Even if you were a garbage man, I think living where you do, it would be fun.
Yeah. Yeah, well, it is. It's a very beautiful place. The weather is amazing, and obviously we have the ocean right here. I live right on the water, so I'm so blessed for that. I'm, so grateful for where I live. I don't think I could leave here ever because it is. I've grown up here. I've really learnt I've got to know myself, and my community's so widespread and everyone knows one another, and it's a beautiful community. So that's the Gold Coast in a little nutshell, that's for sure. How I started everything was when I met you. Well, it was exactly a year after I actually found out my husband was cheating on me. So then it went through the process of being divorced from there. And how I started my business was during the divorce, even. I was sort of finding the process of finding myself. I was always healthy and fit, but I sort of didn't know that I could get back to a certain level of fitness. So once I started doing that and learnt so much about myself and new ways of training and new ways of health, which I already knew, but I had to sort of delve back deeper into it. And then I started writing ebooks from there. And then it just went on to the flow. Everybody wanted to get to know how I did it, how I got from one space to the next, what were the tips and tricks. And so that's what I do now. Through teaching and through educating, I try and help women all over the world to find that little thing within mind and body that's going to get them forward in life.
Well, you honestly, you were always my inspiration training for Ironman, first of all. And I remember when I finished, I messaged you and was like, do you
Yeah,
remember
so
all those years ago? My little
Oh my God. Did you get
And
tattooed? I didn't know you got
I
tattooed.
did. I had to. I was like, okay, I'm going to get it. And it's a place that will never ever sag. There is no
That's
way
right.
sag there. And so I wasn't going to get it on my calf. But this is what I loved is you totally like you've always been in the back of my head, especially after finishing Ironman, because you kind of go through that athlete like sadness and withdrawal. But I had known enough racing like to avoid that this time. But I watched you when you said transform your body to go from Ironman, this elite athlete, to where you are today. Oh my gosh. And I remember you talk about it on your social, and you have shown me like this is what endurance, this is what cardio, this is what massive cardio looks like. And then here is doing, a far less intensive workout, but hard because of weights. And I've seen you transform. And that has, I mean, that is fun, especially when you know someone. You're like, okay, I knew her like this, and now she's like this. So, what, like, was it the divorce? What caused you to be like, okay, I'm going to turn this around and I'm going to move from this endurance athlete to this, massive mogul in muscular development and strength and wellness? I mean, it's all wellness, but you just have shown up so different.
I think it was finding that personal strength for myself. So, obviously, Ironman training is living through endurance, it's almost fighting against your body. Whereas when you're strength training, you are filling your body with love. You're finding the strength in a different way. Women are endurance athletes. We are able to go and endure. But are we able to gather that strength up for ourselves and be so powerful and understand ourselves through? Because we are true survivors, and being able to lift weights gathers that love of self, that love of muscle. And you're able to look in the mirror and go, no, I'm going to be powerful for me. Whereas when we're running and we're almost stretching our bodies out, like gathering and gasping for something, as opposed to filling ourselves with that power.
Okay, that is brilliant. Did that start during this whole time? I mean, I know you've always been strong and believed in weight training, but you are so fit and so strong. And I mean, how did you, is it because of your background that you knew this? Because I mean, you haven't joined the 50s club, but you're in your 40s. And so like, how did you know how to do this? Did you just start watching things? I mean, you were ahead of your time.
Yeah, I definitely sort of changed the face of it. Well, first of all, I started training with the kids. So I made the kids come with me with all of my strength and weight. I started with body weight. I got them to join in with me. I started doing quality training as opposed to quantity. So as we know, Ironman training is all about quantity, quantity, quantity. You don't have time to do that as a young mum. And then when you're trying to work around work at the same time, it needs to be pure quality, pure speed. And so that's when I started adding body weight training in. And then obviously then you add weight training in with resistance training in. And then that's when you start to feel that strength. But the key thing for me was definitely survival, in the fact that my job as a single mum became, I was the number one. So I needed to have that physicality where if we were in a fire, we had to do anything, I was strong enough to gather my two babies and get them out of any harm's way. So that was the whole purpose originally for what I did it for. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is,
So,
and I know
yeah.
that's what you're like, and that's what I do for women. Like, that's what I love doing for women.
Yeah.
So, talk a little bit about the strength. I mean, when did you, I feel like you've come into this knowingness of just who you are. When did that start? When did that journey really start? Was it 11 years ago or, 10 years ago when you went through the divorce, or is it just been recently?
I think honestly it wavers. And I think as women, as we go through our life, we do have those ups and downs. We have those moments where we're like, I'm not sure. And, we're scared of something, or we've got a little bit of fear around something, or whatever it is. But it's also that intuition that we know that we need to trust ourselves, and that we can do anything that we put our mind to. And we create our life forward too, living in our conscious world. So I think that was definitely part of it for me.
It's been beautiful to watch because, again, it's like I get a front row seat because I'm like, okay, I met her 11 years ago. I know what I know. And then we followed each other along. And I just love now that you've really, since your kids are growing up, because how old are your kids now?
Yeah, 19 and 17. And
My
it's
God.
a total, yeah, yeah. And it's a total different flip of their life then again, too. So this is where it's that ebbs and flows. You've got to flow with every part of it and every journey and grow and adapt and move around it. It's when we become stagnant and but I did it this way and that worked. And that's the problem right there for so many people, especially for women, because we want to be stuck in our ways in a way for many of us because
Yeah.
that's what worked before, but it doesn't. We have to be the water, not the rock.
Okay, one more time. We have
We
to
have to be the water, not the rock.
That is powerful. That is so powerful. And I love that you started with your kids. You're like, okay, this is about the kids and, doing body weight, like starting there and then added more strength. And then now your kids have switched ages, 19 and 17. And I love that you're really, because you teach, because you're around kids all the time. I've seen that you've really grown, like the impact you have with teens, which I love. I love what you're doing there. Kind of share a little bit what your passion is there. And then I want to circle back and go back to your brand too.
Okay, so Teen Thrive Tribe is about embracing teens and helping them. There's a big gap at the moment for teens that have sort of lost their way. Post COVID, they did really lose those role models within their schools, within their communities, etc. So we've really lost that part of it. So what we need to do now is regather them together as a community for themselves and reteach them those little parts about themselves. When they go to school, obviously they've got that information, they've got different role models. And parents at that time, and it's not their fault, it just happened to be this whole, everybody just fell apart within their routines. And so it's coming back together to a routine. It's teaching our teens that they do have that self-worth within them and that moving their body is the key to mindset. Because a lot of people think, oh no, but I've got to fix my mind. No, moving your body, number one, then it will fix your mind because then you start together, oh, I can do this. My body can do this.
Well, and we always say like emotion, like is energy in motion. So energy in motion is moving your body. And then what happens? You start to get the feeling, oh, like you said, I can do this. I am capable. And so tell us how you do that. Like, is this in person? Is this online? Is it just in Gold Coast? Is it across Australia? Where is it?
So currently, right now, all we're working on is community-based ones that are right here on the Gold Coast, because obviously we've only done 2 different events so far. But I'm building right now a Teen Thrive Tribe that's obviously going to be online. So it's a core space so people can come on. So parents who are unsure what to say, what to do, because I think that's what it really comes back to. These kids have grown up in a total different world, and parents are so scared to say certain things to them, that it may cause harm. So as the educator and growing, 25 years in education and health and fitness education, it's definitely my passion to make sure that we're giving that right information, that right knowledge to help these kids thrive.
I love this. I love this. Not your typical teacher that's like showing up, teaching, leaving school, and like, hey, I'm going to head home my own kids. You're like, no, I want to make other kids better too. I love what you're doing for kids. Okay, who do you, in your job that you get to go to work for, tell us about it. What is it like? Who do you get to work with? Who are the kids that you teach?
So currently I'm teaching a year 5 cohort, which is 150 children, but I also run like a fitness and health program in the morning. So what I'll do is we'll do some fitness activities and it's just that positive affirmation so they understand themselves. It might be just as basic as walking lunges, but the fact that a lot of children, we've seen such a decline in health in kids, in balance especially, and obviously posture. So I work on posture because posture is the key to confidence. And then as we know, when we get kids to stand up and have confidence, then of course that's going to help them. There's no bullying if a kid is confident. So it's that whole continuation of that and educating them about themselves and that they're able to speak up and use their voice, and their voice is how they hold their body. So it's going back to those basics.
I
Yeah.
love that. The Mel Robbins power pose. I'm like thinking of
Oh,
like,
yeah. I love Mel Robbins so
I know,
much.
I was just like her power pose. I'm like, we should both stand up and power pose. How old are the kids that come? What are the youngest ages that come?
So I'm trying to use the gap between 11 and 17 because that's the real one where they either get attached to social media and they're just scrolling and really seeing things that aren't helpful to them. I want them to have a choice and have all the information that they can, but I also want them to be getting information that is actually honest and true.
And I love that because you've already been through it with your kids. I mean, you're right on the other side of that. So, not that any level is ever easy. New
Oh,
level, new devil. You're always like, oh my gosh, I thought we walked through this with, remarkably. And then you're like, oh, okay, now this is happening. But I want to take people back to what I saw you create initially is be. And
yeah.
and that is, I mean, honestly, I'll tell you, I have taken many of your workouts that you provide for free, which is awesome. Your food, I've had to do it because, you Australians, you Aussies, us Americans, we weigh things different. I'm like, what? Thank goodness for a food scale. I can figure out those measurement swaps, but your food is beautiful. You eat beautiful food. You're definitely teaching people like how to eat well. And then I love that I see you enjoying gelato yesterday. And it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
not all
I love
about like only eat this, only eat the macros and don't ever eat anything else. And, consume, massive quantities of protein. And your food is so pretty. Your brand B is so beautiful. Tell us a little bit about that because you were writing ebooks. I mean, I feel like today that's not as I don't want to say as huge of an accomplishment, but you were way ahead of the curve of an ebook. An ebook is completely an accomplishment, but when you did it years ago, nobody was doing that. What made you even think to do that? And then talk about your brand B too, because it's fantastic.
So, well, initially it started as be, live, and wear because obviously I was working with multiple brands with fitness, clothing, etc. So that's how it initially started. And then as I wrote books, it went onto belindanorton.com. And the branding for B is because everything that I write is B.X, being Belinda.kiss. So because I just believe that I give out love freely to everybody because I think that giving love, you always get it back. So that's how that started. So ebooks, I started initially because I was giving out programs. I wanted people to find out and grab some information that they could have on their phone and slide it through. Obviously now it's changed over. So I did a published book called Fit Mama also. So Murdoch Publishing picked me up and we did that one. And then it's just continued on. I write for a magazine now called Wellbeing Magazine and I'm their fitness contributor. So, and then I'm also on a TV called Wellbeing TV here in Australia. So, talking about wellness and overall body wellness and health, mind, body, soul, which is everything about what I love and do.
Literally, I don't know how you fit it all in 24 hours, Belinda. Like, when are you sleeping, girl? You're like, oh no, I sleep. Believe me, I sleep because I know you're very well. You live well. You're so well rounded. So, okay, go back to your fitness. If somebody wants to get going in fitness, because I love your workouts, it's been so good for me just to remember, just like you said, it doesn't have to be one, like how long you do something, because that still messes with my head 20 years later, but you can get a great workout. Like I love that most of your workouts, would you say are 30 minutes?
30 minutes. 30 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, because that's all you really need to do. You don't need to do it, and especially if you're going hard for 30 minutes. So putting on a timer and starting it and saying, you know what, I'm going to commit to myself for 30 minutes and go as hard as I possibly can to sweat and to get as, as physically moving as possible. Yeah, and as I said, speed as opposed to endurance. We can keep going for hours and hours, us women. But if you put us in a situation where we've only got 30 minutes and you just got to power it out, you're going to get so much more from that.
Okay, that is so powerful. And you've been living that way. How many years would you say that you've really
Oh,
been focusing?
yeah, well, at least 20, well, 19 years
Yeah.
now. Like I've been, yeah, living in that quality over quantity training because it does. First of all, it works around full-time work. And as a single mum and a working mum, it's not like I own a gym and I can go into my gym and train all day and fit in a few clients around it. I have to get up and train. I have to drive to work. I have a full-time job. I have to train in the afternoons and then I've still got family to do. So I think that's the biggest difference in what I do is I'm just like, 90% of women, right? It's not that 10% of women who are so lucky, and I'm so excited for them that they get to do that. Well done. Like
Right.
I only dream of that. Like, oh, well done. But at the same time, I think, keeping that realness is really helpful to women everywhere.
How do you keep up on all the different, like, is there somebody you follow? I don't know what it's like over in Australia. Do you have to have so many courses for what you're teaching, or where are you getting your great ideas? Who inspires you?
Oh, like I'll have a look at different things that are coming up, and I'll obviously do the research on it. Because I write for Wellbeing Magazine, I need to come up with new things and current things. So, for example, at the moment, which is really exciting, and I've just written an article on it, which is somatic exercises. So as we know, that's taking away that numbness out of our system. And I've spoken about that part of it for years, but I love that it's got a new name. So a repackaged name. So I love that, which, and that's what happens generally. That's what happens in fitness.
Yeah.
Everything gets repackaged. But the main thing is still a set of 8 kilo dumbbells and one kettlebell and a medicine ball is really all you need. And you're able to go and do a complete workout with that.
Okay, friends, I hope you all heard that. I hope you heard that, because it's not some Belinda, there are times I don't even want to tell you how many gyms I belong to. I use them all. I use them, but I'm like, oh, I love having yoga. I love having Pilates. I love having the gym close here at the lake. And I love how you're like, you need these three things. That's it. That is it.
Yeah.
And the cool thing is, I love it because you show us how. Okay, how many ebooks? The one ebook, or do you have more than that?
No, there's 5 current
Okay.
ebooks on there. The latest one, Be Body Bloom, is by far the most complex one, and I think the best one right now. It's current. So it's got all of the details in there about nutrition and why, as well as it's got all of the basic fitness workouts that I continue to do. So I don't try and overload people with a million different workouts, because realistically, I do the same things all the time. I'm still doing the Bee Body Blast, which I wrote in 2012. Like, I just think, wow, like, what? We don't need to reinvent the wheel. It's seriously 8 exercises that you can do in half an hour, that you can do in your lounge room and run out the front door and do the training sessions in between. You don't need a lot of stuff.
I love it. We'll just repackage it and rename it, right? Like somatic healing. Like, okay,
I
we're gonna rename it. Be Body
love
Blast is now this. But
it.
okay, so
Right.
where do they find your books?
You can find them at belindanorton.com. All of the books are on there. And then Wellbeing Magazine, you can also find that at wellbeing.com.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. And we will put those in the show notes just so you all know that, because we want you to be able to find Belinda. But I do want to circle back to food. Your
Sure.
food is beautiful. Clearly, nutrition is a huge part of your life. Are you more about the aesthetic? Are you looking for more like getting 30 different kinds of fruits and veggies and herbs in a week? Are you looking for, what makes you create that beautiful food? Or is it like, I'm really dialed into the macros that the food presents with? Or tell us your nutrition plan.
Quite honestly, I don't count one single calorie or macro. And you know that.
I
You're
know.
like, I'm
I love
so
it.
like, no, because I don't believe in counting. Like, especially, I don't weigh myself. I never have. I don't measure myself. I just know personally how I feel. It's all
Yeah.
about that somatic understanding your body, how you feel. So, nutrition wise, what I fuel myself with is as many vegetables as I can possibly get in my body every single day. I don't ever say, oh no, I can only have this much fruit because it's got so much sugar. I actually don't even think about that. If it is earth grown, or like it's from the farm or the sea, which is what I always say, eat from the farm, eat from the sea, you will avoid the pharmacy. So, which is the goal in life. Okay. We want to avoid that. So, then I'll also add in different supplements, obviously, dependent on what I'm missing in any way, but it depends. I really listen to my body though. So, when I'm fueling myself for breakfast, it's always eggs, gluten-free toast, loads of veggies, as many greens as I can get there. Morning tea, so similar. It's a homemade granola that I make, and coconut yogurt. Again, it's all from the earth. Lunch is always vegetables and salad and a protein. And then dinner is always protein. And I generally just have a herbal tea. That's pretty much what I have.
You're like, that is it. You're like, it's so boring, but it's not. It's just beautiful. And do your kids, now that they've grown up in this, do they value your mindset that you've taught them? Do they value wellness? Do they, I think your daughter, I love seeing you guys in the gym together because that's just so fun. So have they adopted these principles that you've really lived by because they've grown up in them?
Yeah, 100%. So my 19-year-old, he's actually loves health so much that he's a paramedic. So he's at university studying paramedics. So he's obsessed with looking after people and looking after their bodies. He just gets frustrated because he can't tell them about health. But then, and my daughter, well, it's like a mini me with my daughter. It's like she repeats everything that I say. My son does too, but they're very attuned with themselves and they understand that they need to be, physically active every day, and they do choose foods that are going to make them feel well, which is everything. So I'll say, well, that's, they'll obviously have treat foods, which is great.
Yeah.
That's what they need to do. They need to work out for them and go, all right, well, how did that make you feel? And that's where everybody needs to go, but what did it make you feel like? Did you have stomach issues after it? Did you feel bloated after it? Were you constipated after it? And speaking these ways to people so they can understand how their digestion works. It's quite scary to think that
Yeah.
so many people have no idea what happens once they put that food in their mouth. So I think that's what I go back to educate on, and my kids know it very well.
It's so pretty. And I think so many of us, myself included, I remember when we had an exchange student from Norway, and she could not believe how much Americans either consume food while talking on the phone or while at our computers. And it's like driving when you haven't had enough sleep. You arrive and you're like, I don't even know how I got here. And that can be the way with food. Is I used to have a horrible habit, and who wants to hear somebody eating on the other end? But I would like multitask and eat in my car while talking on the phone. And I'm like, did I even know what I ate? I couldn't even tell you. So that is so important to know, like you said. Then when you get done, is that why you have stomach issues, digestive issues? You don't feel well, your energy tanks, like, oh, let's process through this and think about food. And so is that something you get to teach in Australia in public schools? Can you teach that part?
Yeah, that's exactly what I teach. Yeah, I get to teach the full digestive system in the body, the muscular system, the skeletal system. We create a big food platter of healthy food. What are the options? How did we feel? So yeah, it's very immersive for the students here in Australia, and they get to try the different foods. Like for so many children, they've never even tried a piece of raw broccoli. And they're like, oh, but then because they're with their peers, they see this raw broccoli and they're like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And they eat it. And they're like, oh, it's not that bad. And I'm like, no, it's not that bad. Dip it in some hummus. Try that. And it's really interesting for them because they're with their peers. They're more, excited to have a go at it.
I love that. And I just love how you just embody, that's the word, living well in all the ways, mentally, physically, spiritually. It's just so fun to watch you grow up. I say that, Belinda. It's so fun to watch you grow up, like right on the internet, but it's so neat because you embody, and that's what we teach so much in this mindset work. And I know you do as well. And I see that you have a morning routine with gratitude and with journaling and just, it's the feeling. And we keep saying that it is the feeling, but it's embodying that person all the time. That's when you ascend to that next level, is when you are her or him all the time, in everything you do. So that if somebody came into Belinda's house, they wouldn't be like, ooh, that's not how she shows up on social media. You're her all the time, even when you're alone. And you are proof of that. Like, oh my gosh, my friend, you have done it well. And so we always end with our podcast. Our podcast is called Meet Me in the Penthouse. And so we
I love that.
ask, what is the penthouse to you? Living in the penthouse. What does that mean to you? How does that resonate?
Well, the penthouse isn't anything about items or anything around. The penthouse is within my body. So I know the penthouse is within my mindset first. and how I outwardly gift others with gratitude. So I live my life of, and I affirm it and manifest it on a daily level. Like, for example, I'm so grateful for my feet sitting on the carpet. I'm so grateful for sitting in front of you right now, having a chat with my friend from 11 years ago. I think all of these aspects, that is my penthouse. My penthouse is within myself.
Oh my gosh, within yourself. That is brilliant. And any of you are getting to see Belinda, follow her for the best glasses ever. She's wearing a pair of orange ones, absolutely, and I'm obsessed with. And I'm going to have to figure out how to get those in the United States. So
They're from Barcelona.
they're so cute. They're so fun. But this has been such a fun experience. Thank you for filling us up. Thank you for gifting us. And you will be able to follow Belinda on social. Where do they find you on social?
Just so belinda.n.x on Instagram, and Facebook is Belinda Norton. And if you just search Belinda Norton, there.
You'll find her, get her ebooks. And I mean, it's all good. So thank you so much, friend. We love you. We're so glad you were here with us. And we'll see you in the penthouse.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in today for Meet Me in the Penthouse with Sisters Amy and Molly. Please rate and review. We love those 5-star ratings and would love to have you go to our website at sistersnextdoor.com.